This video is brought to you by my patrons, my thoughts and opinions, a heavy dose of sarcasm, witchcraft, and of course, TikTok. Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel where I talk about whatever catches my attention. I'm Kit, and on June 30th, 2025, Taylor Alesia, aka the Bible Chick, published the video, I'm not going to laugh, growing number of women doing witchcraft on men with the thumbnail, "This is terrifying." I feel like I should say up front that I don't consider myself a witch, though Taylor and friends probably would call me one, so you know what? I am a witch. And I'm here to say that, again, TikTok is not real life, Daily Mail is not a reliable source, and what in the fear-mongering is this?
Okay, listen to me. This just took be careful who you date to a whole nother level. Because just this last weekend, I found myself on a side of TikTok I didn't know existed. And I'm gonna guess a lot of you watching didn't know as well. Which is, no pun intended, which is putting spells on their boyfriends without them knowing.
So, to be clear, you need to be careful about who you date because you never know if that woman, side note, men can be witches too, is a witch who will cast a spell on you, and a growing number of women are into this, but Taylor didn't notice this phenomenon until she found it on TikTok. I would think if this was actually a thing that she'd be mentioning how many men she knew that were suddenly going crazy over random women, but instead her source is TikTok. An app where people actively compete to say the wildest, most divisive things. But yes, men, you've been warned. Be careful who you date. She might be a witch. Actually, I think it would be safer to just stay in our houses and have no contact at all with anyone. Sarcasm aside though, this attitude just baffles me. I mean, it's completely understandable to not want someone to be casting spells on you, and this is totally unethical, but I thought Christians weren't supposed to believe in witchcraft, and also that anything evil that might look their way would have no effect on them if they believe in Jesus. And
the scariest part of it all, it works.
Her proof, of course, is TikTok's telling us that it works, which does make me wonder if these people are selling something. Sorry, I can be cynical, especially when it comes to social media, but Taylor is just so incredulous, which I guess makes sense since she's been working herself up to find demons in everything. That must be so exhausting. Speaking of which.
And this may be your first introduction to the reality of the spiritual realm, but for Christians, we have been knowing about the spiritual realm and our eyes are wide open that witchcraft is real and that it is powerful and that people are using it today in growing numbers. And these spirits that so many are calling on aren't like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Warning. Oh, no, please don't scream. I promise I won't hurt you.
These spirits are actively working night and day to not only keep you from the knowledge of the gospel, convincing you Christians are crazy and out of our minds to believe in the Bible. Silly Christians, you actually believe in that stuff. You actually believe in that book. But aside from convincing you that Christians are the crazy ones, their number one goal is to destroy your life. And the reality is that if you are not under the protection of God, you are on your own. And when it comes to the dating world, you are also on your own.
Of course, witches are working with demons. I'm thinking about it, and nothing in any spaces or people I follow mention working with demons, but I suspect that worship of anything not the one true God is considered a demon in Taylor's eyes. This is a new strategy though. Once upon a time, you converted people with love and kindness. Now, you scare them into believing in Jesus. And not even with the fear of hell, but the fear that random people could be sending demons after you. And if you don't believe in Jesus, well, you're on your own. Best of luck.
In this video, you will discover that it's no longer just about finding some girl or guy that you think is cute. Nope, it is a lot more than that now. You now truly have no idea if this person is lighting candles and chanting around their room at night with a picture of you on the wall. And let's just say that you break up with, or you hurt, or you cheat on one of these witches. You are on your own.
This is such a weird thing to say. Witchcraft isn't new. And honestly, I would say that these days, people are probably more open about their beliefs. And of course, if you follow them on socials, you'll most likely find out pretty quick if they're a chanting around someone's picture type.
If I was a guy, this would be very scary and alarming to me. But as a Christian male, I wouldn't be afraid. Because like I said, we are all very well aware as Christians that this stuff is going on and it is no power to the Holy Spirit.
My male audience is small, but I have to ask. Men, are you afraid that you might date someone who will put a love spell on you?
And like the Bible also says, there is nothing new under the sun. So the fact that witch talk is popping in 2025 is not really that surprising. But when I go to share this stuff with my parents, anybody older in my life, explaining to them how many people are actually practicing witchcraft, that these celebrities are doing it, that the neighbors are probably doing it, they look at me like I have 3 heads, you guys. They can't wrap their heads around the fact that this is going on, yet Gen Z is already so desensitized to it. It's normal. It's not a big deal. In fact, it has become an aesthetic.
I'm kind of baffled as to why Taylor would be trying to explain witch talk to her parents, or anyone really, but the idea that the neighbors are probably practicing witchcraft, come on. The majority of Americans still identify as Christians. Her neighbors are much more likely to be another flavor of Christian than witches. Though I have noticed a trend in her content this year to see witchcraft everywhere. But that's for another video. In this video, we're concerned about witch talk having 60 billion views.
But while we don't have an exact percentage of how many Gen Zers and millennials are practicing witchcraft, we can look at the terrifying fact and reality that witch talk has more than 45 billion views on TikTok. I say this because it really makes you wonder, what are the odds that I find myself in a relationship with somebody that practices witchcraft? Or anyone for that matter. If your coworker is practicing witchcraft, if your aunt is practicing witchcraft, so many people are messing with this stuff.
Well, but jokes aside, witches are people just like everyone else. There's no need to be scared of them or what they might do, and there's unethical people in all walks of life, and that includes Christians. But anyway, Taylor tells us that she discovered this because Hailey Bieber witchcraft accusations kept showing up in her feed, even though she totally didn't want them, and so she just went down that rabbit hole, as one does when they have no interest in something. Also, Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband accused her of putting voodoo spells on him and her other former husbands, and Katy Perry, per the Daily Mail, said she put a spell on Orlando Bloom. And, except for the Biebers, as of filming, all those relationships have ended. So much for the binding power of love spells. Taylor does note that, at least. Apparently this is an example of how deceiving witchcraft is. And no, that's just an example of how doing things unethically doesn't work out. I of course can't say either way if Jennifer Lopez or Katy Perry or Hailey Bieber put love spells on anyone, of course, but it is without a doubt unethical to do that. If you want love, you don't cast a spell on a person. You put it out into the universe, and then you put yourself out there as well. If I want a promotion or a raise, I don't put a spell on management. I put it out in the universe, and then I start doing things to put myself in a position for a promotion or a raise, which includes outright asking for it. I would like to add that this is not all that different from praying. The only difference is who or what you're appealing to. And on that note.
But aside from all that, even as a Christian, somebody who has lived in the world before, I could see myself not knowing Jesus and being enticed, being attracted to the idea of wanting to cast a spell. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted a specific guy to like me that just didn't. And how many times I wanted a relationship to work out that just wouldn't. And if I had this shiny little golden ticket waved in front of my face saying it could all be yours if you just do X, Y, and Z, sadly and embarrassingly, I will admit that I could definitely see myself doing this to a boy that I like, especially seeing how it is working and my underdeveloped brain in my early 20s.
So, does she know it's wrong now because her brain is developed or because of Jesus? Anyway, Taylor goes off about how this proves that witchcraft is evil, and all the witchy things I follow are about living in tune with nature and crafting herbal teas and the like. And is Taylor really sure she wants to dismiss a spiritual practice as evil because of some posts on TikTok, considering things Christians have actually gotten up to? Taylor closes with a plea for discernment, and I want to say that I know that Taylor and her fellows aren't representative of all Christians. Thank goodness. Anyway, I wanted to comment on this video because I found it so ridiculous and also concerning, though less scary than her other witchcraft videos, which honestly made me wonder if Taylor is itching to bring back the witch trials. But we will be looking at that. Well, I guess that can be the special Solomon video this year. All that being said, I wish she'd be more responsible with what she says. Anyway, I'm going to end this video with some clips of my favorite witchy creators, who will be linked below, and to start, some more thoughts about love magic. Seems pertinent. Blessed be.
Love spells. Ooh, love spells. I'm gonna put love spells in Mercury and Gatorade, and this is because I am not anti-love spells. Mark my word, I'm not anti-love spells when done well, right? But it's really important to do these well. For example, like, I feel like I've said this a million times over. Self-love spells are like the best love spells you can do. Or you can do a love spell to like open yourself up to receiving love that would be aligned and helpful and, you know, beneficial for you. Those are both top tier love spells. But typically what we're seeing online is a lot of just like, just write his name 7 times and then smear it with honey and then blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we have the question of consent that comes up that we talk about a lot. And if you're interested in hearing more on this, I think I have a whole podcast episode about love spells. But furthermore, what I'm always trying to tell people is like, I promise you, you do not want someone that you have like manipulated to be in your life. Why would you want a partner that is only with you because you've psychologically and energetically manipulated them to be in your life?
So I hope that those items made sense. We have the 4 do's. Focus on self-love. First, use correspondences that align with love and attraction. Cast attraction and open heart spells, and do strengthen existing bonds that you have. And then the don'ts. Don't cast spells on specific people. Don't. That's the biggest takeaway. Don't use magic to fix a relationship that's already broken. Don't ignore your intuition, and don't forget to ground and protect your energy.
For those of you who have been here for a while, you definitely recognize this table. This was once known as Haunted Table. There's a tale on that and a video on it if you're interested. But despite that, and maybe even because of it, it has always called to me as my workstation. It is my altar. It is where I craft all of my magical recipes as well as my medicinal recipes. And I like to keep it, as I said, in seasonal order. It typically gets a little cluttered and chaotic by the turn of each season. And while I do exchange things every now and again, like the bouquets or dried herbs that I keep on the table, in general, it does still need a good seasonal overhaul. Each altar and magical workspace should be taken care of, cleaned regularly, and just adorned in the energies that you work with. Because I work seasonally, I do like to have the energy of the season accumulate. But right now, the accumulated energy is a little bit too springy and not summery enough. So let's begin by just doing a base cleaning. And the first part of that is the mundane part of that, which is to physically clean it, as every successful energy cleansing must follow a physical cleanse.
I just received a message from somebody on my Instagram lovingly letting me know that it was very jarring to see an image on my Instagram stories of a Palestinian baby who just recently starved to death because of the forced famine that is part of the genocide machinery of Israel. They messaged me and they were like, just to let you know, things like that can be really jarring, so do think about them before you share them to your stories. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely joking me? That's wild. I mean, yeah, babe, yeah, it's jarring. It's very jarring. Do you know what else happens to be jarring? Mass homelessness that you see everywhere all the time. You know, what else is jarring? Police brutality. That's incredibly jarring. There's so many things that are jarring. Do you know what else is jarring? Pretty much half of what comes up on a social media feed for literally anyone who cares about other people's suffering and is trying to stay plugged in to the material reality of people on this planet. There are going to be tons of things on your social media feeds that are going to be jarring. I'm assuming you're not one of those people that has much interest, and that is why you were jarred and surprised to see such an image come up on my Instagram stories. You know what's most jarring of all? The fact that somebody could actually put their own feelings and their own concern for their comfortability and their own ignorance above and beyond the feelings that they have seeing a starving baby, seeing a malnourished, dying baby. That is what is truly jarring to me. And this is the mistake that people make about people like me who call themselves witches and who teach about spirituality and who talk about magic, is that they think that people like me use magic as a way to avoid looking at the material suffering going on around them and thinking about what they can do to be a part of solutions. They think that when people teach spirituality or talk about the value of it, that they are using spirituality to avoid reality. And that isn't the case. You know, but that's obviously what you thought was happening here. Don't worry about what goes on my Instagram stories. Have a word with yourself. Talk to yourself about what your status as a spiritual person has done to you. Has it made you a better person? Has it made you the class of person that you can really admire, that you really enjoy being? Or is it turning you into some kind of monster who wants everything away from them that is causing them discomfort and who would rather prioritize their own feelings above knowing what they can do to take any kind of action or even feel any kind of empathy? Do you know what would be really, really jarring? Having your child emaciated in your arms, looking at their face, knowing that there is nothing that you can do to ease their suffering, and knowing that there is a massive, massive machinery out there that is making this happen, and that it's something that you can't stop. It's something that no one right now can individually stop, and it's terrifying. And there are tyrants out there, and there are unfeeling people out there who think that that is okay, and that is what should be the case, because your lives are worth less, because you are an inconvenience, because you are a burden upon their vision, their sick, supremacist vision. And so your baby has to die in your arms. That's what's really jarring. And thank you for jarring me with this message that you sent into my DMs today. Absolutely chilling, shocking. People over here in my part of the internet care about starving babies. So if you don't, honey, you better get out and walk. You better find somewhere else to go, because my work isn't for you. I'm surprised you don't find my work in general jarring. If that's your attitude, that's enough. You know what? I'm done.